Oh, yes, you are listening to Wolf Spirit Radio. It is the something. It's the 6th of August. Time marches on. Greetings, Frank Jordan and the Earth Mind Think Tank Group.
Good morning, JP. Well, we're all present and accounted for. So, moving right ahead, we've got some really weird things in the world, in the weather systems on the globe today. Typhoons building up, hurricanes building up, and just weird weather. And these are not anomalies; these are normal. But it seems like usually there's one here and one there, and what's building up is a lot of intense weather in a lot of places. Rich tells us that Hawaii is being approached by a storm, even as Japan is, and off the eastern coast, there's a whole string of potential hurricanes tracking out through there. So a lot of our attention will be put towards weather today. And also, there's been some cracking earthquakes, and they are always of interest to us because of not only the fact they can be tremendously destructive and a lot of wasted energy, but they are a power source, an energy source for the work we do with EarthMind. And to explain that a little bit, we discovered a couple of years ago in the EarthMind Think Tank Meditation Group, which came together really actually as a group of my students that we'd done clearing work with, and had the clarity to really be able to tune into EarthMind, and by EarthMind I mean the consciousness of Earth, Gaia, Mother Nature, whatever you want to call it. Earth is a living unit of consciousness, and it is an ancient consciousness, and that consciousness and the crust of the Earth holds everything that ever happened on Earth. All the energetic experiences of all living things are patterned right into the surface of the Earth, and is held as the instinctive consciousness that all animals, including humans, depend on as their low self primitive consciousness, that the instinctive consciousness of humans particularly. And our indwelling high soul that comes in and at the time of birth and to experience is pretty much subjective to that powerful low self and the animal consciousness. And not only because of what is held within that animal consciousness, within each being or each plant or each animal or unit of consciousness that's out there, but also because of the earthen influences, the constant instinctive influences of what may have been patterned. And this is what holds historic patterns to recycle again and again and again and again until enough desire and will and intent through group mind consciousness is implanted into the crust to alter those effects. And that's particularly what we're looking at with human consciousness now. We're going through a tremendous shift because of the end of the age, the 26,000 years of the last, we'll call it the Mayan cycle, zodiac cycle. Then we're starting into a new cycle of opportunity, an opportunity to release the third dimensional reality of domination and survival at all costs, which is primarily low self primitive consciousness, and come into, for humans particularly, come into the self-realization that through our genetic potential we can and are much more. And certainly we were dumbed down to just 2 strands of DNA to work with, but look what we've accomplished in the last several thousand years in growth of consciousness. And that growth of consciousness is incredibly accelerating to the point to where every human now is being affected by every other human, and through resonance, through Earth Mind, the grid of consciousness in the surface of the Earth, and the group mind consciousness that is the psychic consciousness of everyone on Earth. So it's a great period of turmoil, social unrest, as well as political unrest, environmental unrest, and flying right into the middle of that is the potential of Nibiru coming in to cause great destruction and has the potential of destroying everything. And it's pretty well established and is observed now on the other side of the sun. When it pops out from behind the sun, it'll be right here and influencing us tremendously. So part of our attention is always directed to that. And so we'll get right to the cooperation with Earth Mind by going into the grid of fire and accumulating energy and power there that we can take into the ionosphere and use to influence not only the weather, the earthquakes, but the future condition of Earth. And we have learned how to go into the past and into the future to alter things of the past and future. So any of you who are new with us today, the first thing we'll do is a meditation. So get yourselves comfortable. This meditation is a method that we've learned to access the subconscious mind, and through it, the unconscious mind, oversoul and undersoul, and all the principles that hold everything in form in the 0 point, not only of Earth, but of our own individualized living consciousness. So take your awareness up into your forehead, and that is your point of awareness that allows you to interact with the world. It's the desktop of your biocomputer. Just as the chakra system in the body is the hard disk that supplies the information that we've accumulated in this lifetime and past lifetimes through the base of the brain, the reticular, and the substrates of the brain to the desktop, the frontal lobes, where we act everything out. So this is where our point of beginning always is within our own self-I am state. Now, to access your personal I am, your indwelling soul, just move your awareness back behind your forehead, moving back until you just become totally aware of yourself and nothing outside of yourself. This is your indwelling soul. This is the active experiential part of your consciousness that is here for the experience and the growth. And this is what you'll take with you when you depart. You settle in to that, letting go of any thoughts or ideas floating through the conscious mind. Just let it go. Step back into the self-conscious mind. Now step on back a step further, and you go into the expanded consciousness of the psychic center. This is the communal consciousness of all humans on Earth, in the area of the pineal gland. And at this point, just reach out and touch. Be open and accessible to everyone else. And this is so we can communicate our desire and will through our group mind consciousness to every other human on Earth and prompt a shift of consciousness. And that shift of consciousness is held together as one mind, resonates into the crust of the Earth and affects the unconscious mind, the Earth mind, that state of consciousness that is the substrate that holds our physical form. Now step on back a step further, and you'll feel yourself expand. This is where we enter the subconscious mind. The subconscious, which is another state of consciousness that allows us to communicate on another level with everything and everyone. This is stepping into the subtle energy field. The subtle energy field that supports all physical aspects of consciousness, and this is where the directive consciousness that works through the 0 point in our hearts for manifestation occurs. So now in this step back state, just take your awareness down the spine to the heart center, and this is the indwelling spirit. This is that aspect of consciousness that literally holds the form between the polarity of oversoul and undersoul, positive and negative polarity, in the 0 point. In the 0 point where all things that are in form, that have been formed in the past and are held in form by earth mind, all these things that are in form collapse in the 0 point and recreate in the next future standing wave. And this is where we are important, is that in this collapse of the wave, the standing wave is receptive to our desire and will and intent. And this is what changes every thought, every activity, every emotion, no matter what the movement is on earth. It passes through the 0 point. This is where we become co-creators with the God Force consciousness of the subtle energy system that holds everything in form. So just feel the Spirit Center. Acknowledge that you are a part of that creative God Force consciousness. Now feel that power grow around you. It's like a glow that grows from the 0 point, from the spiritual center of the heart, that glows out and encompasses your entire system. Now that unified system is the one that we want to, through our other systems, communicate with everyone else. So our desire and will and intent is felt through all these other systems. And this is a subjective system. It listens to us, it feels us, what we in our collective state transmit to it, and in turn it, out of respect for our desire and will and need, it manifests that in the 0 point, the common 0 point of earth mind, and of all living things. Now move your awareness on down the spine to the root chakra. You're down in the low self here, our most primitive state of consciousness. And then move on down a step deeper than that. And as you move below your root chakra, below your feet, you enter earth mind. This is the Akashic record that holds everything in form in the standing waves. And the standing waves resonate to the 0 point. And through this you can go anywhere in the past and alter anything that is negatively affecting our present reality. But this is done in an appropriate manner that does not affect the realization or the experience of anything else, unless it is through agreement that can be done. Now we enter into earth mind and go to the ring of fire. Because here's where we accumulate the energy to create the protective field around earth that is actually rescuing earth from the ravages of Nibiru. Take your point of attention to Southern California now and feel, by simply allowing yourself to enter earth mind there, feel the earthquake grids of the many minor earthquakes that occur there constantly. This is still on the San Andreas fault line, and the radiation of an the Baja Peninsula separation there. So move into those energies, just be there. Take your point of attention there and then extend your awareness outside of yourself to feel the stress of the earth there. Now lift that stress up your spine, up through the 0 point, the crown chakra, the oversoul, right on out into the ionosphere, surrounding the earth. And there we've created a golden grid of consciousness to hold. It's a reservoir of this energy that also creates a very powerful expression of our intent. We're using this energy to create an incredibly dense field of energy that is resistant to solar flares. And this has been verified by scientists by the way that this is happening. Do we resist solar flares? But we, by choice, can allow the necessary life forces to come from the sun, heat, warmth, photosynthetic light, that nurtures every living creature on Earth. So we turn our awareness to the sun now and feel the incredible sun. And there are explosive points on the sun at the present moment. None are of danger to us, but we communicate with sun mind, that consciousness of the sun, and we express our intent, our desire, that the sun help us to create a protective field, and in fact, a protective field around every planet in the solar system. A field of energy extending away from the sun to encompass every planet, and that this be a negative, repulsive polarity energy that reaches out and touches Nibiru on its passage into the outer planets. And we use the collective consciousness of the planets to nudge Nibiru outward into a wider orbit that does not affect anything on Earth or any other planet, as it's affecting the weather systems and earthquakes at the present moment. We neutralize the Nibiru, which actually is Nibiru is a planet around a dead dwarf star, and that's what we're seeing approaching now, is the dwarf star. But a civilization did evolve there 1 million years ago, before it ever came into our system, and was captured by our sun. And that's really was the source of humankind, when the Nibiruans came to Earth to mine gold, and they created humans to be laborers. And we have received the heritage of that. And that's what we work with in Earth Mind, in unified consciousness of all living things on Earth, and Earth Mind and Sun Mind, planetary mind, and solar system mind, to harmonize and bring things back into balance. And we see Nibiru, the dwarf star, the red star, being nudged outward. We just put our collective attention on it, and with the intent to create a negative force field that pushes the negative polarized dead star outward. How we're drawing energy from the sun, from the planets, and from our golden grid in our ionosphere is holding the intent that's resonating into this great field of consciousness that we're cooperating with. And you feel your hands getting hot. That's the signal that the galactic center also is sending us the directions and the power to do this. This is how we have learned how to work with the earth energies, is in direct understanding and listening to the galactic core beings that have gone before us. So direct that heat in your hands outward to Nibiru. This is bringing the force of consciousness of the galactic center to bear on Nibiru, to nudge it outward. When I say Nibiru, I'm talking about the dead star. All right, now to reinforce our grid of consciousness in the golden grid, bring your awareness back to Southern California and leave that every place where we stop to gather energy from earthquakes. We create like an energy umbrella that's continuous. It continuously is gathering and releasing the energy into the ionosphere. So move on up now to San Diego. And northward along the San Andreas Fault towards the coast up to Los Angeles. Up to San Francisco. We feel our hands get incredibly hot as we do this. And then wonderful flow of directing energy up our spines. That is really what we're feeling is our cognizant force of intelligence that's directing the devic force of consciousness to respond to us. That is doing the actual movement of the energies. Now, up to the Oregon line. Now shift eastward to the northern Sierra Nevada range between California and Nevada, particularly around Mount Hood, Mount Lassen. There's some activity there now, and moves southward through Sacramento along the subduction zone that's lifting the Sierra Nevadas all the way back to Los Angeles. Then we shift eastward to the Rocky Mountains, where they begin near Las Vegas. And move northward to that subduction zone, all the way up to the Yellowstone. And they open that cauldron, lift that tremendous source of energy upward. And they're also pulling the energy away that, should it be allowed to build up, could create a destructive monster supervolcano. move on northward along the Rocky Mountains to the Canadian line and right on up into Canada, releasing the natural energies of the subduction. And we take our awareness westward to the Pacific Northwest, the Cascade Range, the ancient and active volcanoes there. We release the subduction zone up through those natural vents, releasing the energy all the way up into Canada. And we move our awareness out to the San Juan de Fuca plate that borders the western states in the subduction zone there, and we use that energy that's being generated. We focus our intent on that energy to lubricate that plate, so there are no earthquakes. And since we began doing this several years ago, there has been no earthquakes in that subduction zone, only a harmonious release of the energies that the scientists have noticed and commented on. They all have anticipated and expected earthquakes, and they simply can't happen as long as we keep these plates lubricated and moving smoothly. Now move northward into Alaska, the Gulf of Alaska, and the subduction zone of the Gulf plate of the North Pacific, moving into central Alaska, and here's where we see subduction that is not harmonious, and it erupts in thousands of small earthquakes constantly every day. Few of them ever get more than 1 point. Some can go up to 3 points, but usually they're between 1 and 3 in magnitude. But it's a tremendous amount of energy constantly being released. So we lift that into the ionosphere with a tremendous cauldron of energy lifting upward into the ionosphere, reinforcing our golden grid. Now move your awareness down along the Aleutian Trench and the Aleutian Islands. Many volcanoes releasing energy there. That's what creates the land masses of the islands. Lift that energy upward from the Aleutian subduction zone beneath the Bering Sea. Now we move westward to Kamchatka, the South Island of Russia. There is some mid-range activity there today. We move south along the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench to Japan. Only moderate activity there today, but we use all the energy that's being released by the Japan Trench, subducting and creating the Japan Islands. We use that energy in a whirlwind, a vortex of energy, carrying the radioactivity out and away from the islands into the ionosphere, where the radioactivity is transmuted into beneficial energy. Now we move awareness down to Taiwan in the East China Sea. Some underwater activity there. Then on down into the Philippines. Small to mid-range activity there. We want to give particular note directly east of the Philippines is the Mariana Trench. This has had unusual activity, expressing in the 5 to 6 range. It's the subduction zone, lifting the northern Mariana Islands. Even though it's mostly subduction, underwater energy, we lift that energy upward, lubricating it to prevent tsunamis that can occur from this Mariana Trench area. Now we move southward to Indonesia. In the Indonesian crescent along the Java Trench, scattering of small to mid-range activity there today, some inland indicating volcanoes. We lift those upward. Even as we speak, there's a 4.9 in the eastern islands of Indonesia. It's a volcano that just blew off. Now move your awareness eastward to New Guinea. Always activity along those fault lines. All the way through to the Kermadec Trench, the Tonga Trench, that run north and south. That's subduction, suboceanic activity again. Lift that upward to prevent tsunamis. And we drop from there down to New Zealand. I'm scanning New Zealand, but I can't feel anything potentially building up there that's immediate. So as a preventative measure, we lift any energy along that trench line or in the volcanoes upward. Now move eastward across the Pacific to South America. Chile is very calm except in the northern border with Peru. There's a 5-0 at Arequipa, Peru. That's a subduction response. And up into northern Peru, there's several mid-range, some inland activity. Generally through the entire Andes, we lift that subduction energy upward through the ancient uplifts and ancient volcanoes. Move up to Central America. In the Central American countries, Guatemala, Nicaragua, El Salvador, there's a fairly evenly spaced release of energy there today, and that's a response to that shifting fault zone in the ocean that borders these countries. We lubricate that subduction zone, lift it upward. Now move eastward to the Dominican Republic and the ongoing activity of minor adjustments in that locality. Now we move eastward to the Mediterranean on northern Algeria. There's a 5.6. Then on to southern Italy, and only minor activity in that entire region. Moving eastward to the Himalayas, there is some subductive energy occurring there. And on eastward to China, where there's to Wenping, there's a 4.7 and a 6. This is what caused the destruction of some villages there. Now we move eastward across the Pacific to the Hawaiian Islands. And this morning in the Hawaiian Islands, because we have Rich there monitoring that area, we want to tie into the ongoing release of activity, the volcanic activity in the Big Island, and lift that energy upward and create an ongoing cauldron release there so that energy can be used beneficially. And Rich will anchor that, monitor that for us. Now we move eastward to the point of beginning, Southern California, and on into Oklahoma, where there's an increasing activity of minor earthquakes due to the fracking activity. We release that energy upward, and we use that energy to neutralize the pollution of the chemicals that are injected to loosen the shales. This is also occurring in Arkansas, and near Ridgely, Tennessee, the New Madrid Fault. It shows almost steady minor activity. So we release that so it does not build up and release into a major event. Now we move to the southern Appalachian Mountains near Athens, Tennessee. There's an increasing fracking activity there for the gas wells. Release that upward. And again, we neutralize the pollutants. Now bring your awareness back to the point of beginning in Earth Mind. And we just extend ourselves around the entire Earth now. It's as though you're an observer above the surface of the Earth, looking down at this beautiful, incredible planet we have that is such a birthing zone for life, the abundance of life, and all the balanced ecosystem that allows life to generate. And we reach back in time in the history of when Earth was very stable and life was abundant, and the Devic forces worked in cooperation with sustaining life because that's their job. And we want to bring peace, that peaceful coexistence of life with Earth Divas. bring that forward into this present moment to help stabilize the weather patterns and neutralize the forces that are concentrating in the typhoons and hurricanes. We see them just dropping down into tropical storms, and where it's important that they carry through monsoon rains, carry moisture inland to nurture the land all over the globe, that this occurs in areas where we need the moisture, and also establish the ancient patterns of systems that watered the desert areas, that nurtured the desert areas, like the Sahara Desert and that entire zone that stretches all the way through into Asia. It's where there's an abundance of life, people are happy and contented. So we touch into the nature of people now through our psychic grid. And we open the psychic grid up to the soul grid that carries the group mind consciousness of all humans. And with it the intent that peace and harmony and a peaceful expression of their tenure in this earth plane consciousness allows an abundance of life and harmony, and that this all comes through the auspices of dominion, the soul system of the earth having experienced domination, which many of them came in to do. We've done that now. We want to release the force and power of the third dimensional domination and of the financial structures, the religious structures, the educational structures, so all mankind may exist and live in dominion, recognizing our responsibility to care for and nurture all living creatures on earth. Just as it says in the first pages of the Bible, and man shall have dominion over all the creatures and all the earth. That means to be the caretakers. Extend your love now. You feel that tingling sensation in your hands, accelerating to do this. That's the energy of the galactic center coming through, teaching us to be earth stewards and to care for and nurture all living things, and to raise the consciousness of mankind. That will, along with our scientific acceleration, will allow us to go out into the universe, not as dominators, destructors, controllers, but in harmony with those species and civilizations in the galaxy that are aware of us and have been monitoring us for some time, and most of them do want to help us, but by galactic law they're not allowed to intervene. And that's exactly what created the great karma for Nibiru itself, is when they intervened in creating humans on Earth, it totally disrupted the natural evolution of life that would have occurred in us being the equivalent of the Nibiruians in another million years or less. So we release them of their karma, release the Nibiru into their karma. We come to them in peaceful thought and intent exchange. We will supply all the gold you need in exchange for technology and things that can help us to regain our 12 strands of DNA. In fact, I'm being shown that they actually have that technology that can reassemble the DNA in our systems. But they've refused to do that to this point. But our own technology will develop that in a few years. But we're appealing to the Anunnaki. Let's be friends and brothers and co-creators in the universe. And so it is. You bring your awareness back into your own systems. Look at your reality. Know that you are the creator of that reality and attract it. Allow yourselves to be the manifestors of your reality rather than being subjective to that was created for you. Come on up your spines now, back into the soul center and out into the frontal lobes of the conscious mind. And invite any of you to make any comments you would like this morning, since we do have some time. Would anyone care to make comments?
I just heard last night that there was a spill from a mine in, I think, southern Saskatchewan, where the spill was was mercury and silver into the rivers near there. I don't know precisely where it is, but it would be, I think, something that we could focus on to lift that.
Well, I take your point of attention through Teresa to empower and encourage those responsible to contain that outbreak as rapidly as possible. A pollutant of that nature, silver being heavy, goes right to the bottoms of the rivers, and it'll be virtually impossible to neutralize that, since it is a primary element. But perhaps they can somehow vacuum it back up if possible. If we can create a protective shield against the contamination of mercury in all the living creatures of the rivers and in the mountains. Thank you, Teresa. Remind us to reinforce that in the future. Anyone else have any comments?
I'd like us to try to neutralize the fear. Over here in Hawaii, these hurricanes that have been coming towards us. Yesterday, all the grocery stores are completely sold out of water. People are just hoarding food, and they're in almost a state of semi-panic here. And it just shows the power of the media to instill fear into people's hearts. So I would like us just to send a big wave of unconditional love over all these people so that they relax and allow this.
All right. You direct that for us, Rich.
All right, let's just, from our heart chakras, let's just radiate unconditional love out to all these people on all these islands. And let's replace the fear with unconditional love, peace. neutralizing the hurricanes to tropical storms, and directing the Devics to continue to move the storm north. So it just kind of bypasses the islands. It brings us rain. We can always use rain, but we only need 40 mile an hour winds. We don't need 100 mile an hour winds. So we just want to bring it to 40 mile an hour winds, the rain that we need to fill all the islands with water, and put the people's hearts at rest. And just sustain that and hold that in form. There we go. So let everybody just relax. And just relax. Be at peace. We just hold that in form and continue with it. Thank you.
All right, we want that to sustain, even as our intent pushes the storm further away, so it does not hit directly.
Right.
Right, that felt good. Anyone else? We're looking at the Atlantic Ocean and the summer. What it is a series of low pressure areas originating actually in the Sahara of Africa that originate and come across one after the other. There's a string of those lined up, each and every one of which could become a destructive storm. So let's pull the energy off of them. There's probably 7 of them lined up out there now, or building, that we can't even see. Let's lift that pattern into the ionosphere. Lift on those energies as they build up, adding them to our golden grid to sustain life instead of being destructive to it. We tune into the Devic's consciousness of where the storms originate in the Sahara. Lift those energies upward. That's interesting how the high pressure ridge generates those low pressure cells as a way of releasing energy, and they release them laterally. That's the realization that I was just shown. So when we have high pressure ridges building up, there'll be horrible weather around those, periphery to them, releasing the energy, so we can redirect that energy into a beneficial cause. All right, very good. Okay, anyone else? Kimmery, what's happening in your world?
Hi there. Hi, everyone. So nice to be here today. There is a confirmation that the new Treasury notes were released last week.
I think we lost you, Kimmery.
Oops. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. So we got confirmation of that last night, that indeed they did release those new Treasury notes that are backed by substance. And that began last week. So we are, I'm doing a lot of paperwork this week, getting prepared for the gates getting ready to open, and also doing a lot of work preparing for the rollout of the education and the announcements to folks to let them know what to expect, what's coming around the corner here. So it's very exciting times, but I'm also very, very busy. But it was so good to be on this call because it's so important for us to ground all of these energies, knowing that we're all holding a different piece of this key to assist Gaia in her graduation from the dark quarantine that we've all been subjected to. So the press of the coal and the diamonds awakening, the shimmering is beginning, the rainbows are coming, and, it's been a long time for us to gather apart. And I think the grounding and the connection with Gaia and nature and her frequency grids is the most crucial. And I just thank everyone for the work that they're doing. I'm really grateful and humbled by it.
Thank you. Mike, what's happening in the financial world, particularly with the Iraqi situation?
Well, stock markets have been kind of volatile and correcting. There's a lot of back and forth debate about whether the bull market's over. I'm not so much. I don't know too much about Iraq, although the supposed new opposition force, ISIL, apparently was in a position to march on the major dam and cut off the water supply to Baghdad. That'd be interesting. It's a little bit quiet right now. People are seem to be confused state in reactive mode, and I'll have a planetary cycle look for the Saturday call this week.
All right. Well, what's happening on your side of the world, JP? Not much. Okay. JP, we're ready to wrap up if you want to conclude this. Yeah. Okay.
Looks like he may be away from you.
Right. All right. What we'll do then, drop away and go to the Stellar Group. And thank you, everyone, for participating and listening out in the greater world. And don't forget that we're on 3 times a week, Wednesday and Saturday at 10 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, doing the Earth Mind work. We can certainly use all of your energy and participation in that. And we're on Sunday night when we do an hour of education of some kind. Each of us, and many of us, discussing different thoughts and ideas and potentials, and this is where we learn. We learn how things work and where we're going with all of this. And then the second hour of the Sunday night, we use our incredible group Mind Consciousness to do healing work all over the world. And this is the reports I keep getting back. This is work far beyond our realization of what happens. Because when the galactic flow comes through us during those programs, it resonates out through everyone out there that's listening, and they can pick that up and direct it to do healing or creating their reality, anything they want to apply it to. So please be on hand and participate by contributing your energy to that. You can always go to my website, psytronics.com, psi-tronics.com, or my email, fljordan@cable1.net. If you need products or sessions, I'd work directly with people to help clear them so they can be more effective, not only in their own psychic and spiritual work, but in the group mind consciousness. So with that said, thank you all, and we will see you Sunday